to the Totally Awesome Fishing Show DIY section, guys. Sorry, no fishing today. Too cold. I'm in the garage. I'm in the man cave and going to have a bit of fun. I'm going to try and make you a dog kennel. Now, I love dogs. I've had, well, really 3 dogs. It's nearly over 45 years. I must be doing something right with them. But, 3 individual dogs of that age. Jack Russells, the only dog worth having. Jack Russells. Yep, 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 yep. Bite, bite, bite. But I love them. Right. Any dog really is a man's best friend. They deserve to be treated well. And if you have a dog that's outside, let's face it, some of the climate in the world is changing. I feel they need to be looked after. They need a little bit of shelter outside from the wind, from the rain. We all want to be cosy. Look, let's face it, I'm not fishing because it's horrible out there. Where am I? I'm in a garage. Well, that's the equivalent of it's the equivalent of a dog kennel. I'm in the dog kennel. Well, the human one anyway. I'm making them out of pallets. Now, any of you people who saw my how to make picket fencing for nothing out of pallets will realise what a monster success it was. As I stand here now, I'm almost in shock. My son Mike, who does the editing for our film, says it's over 111,000 views. Excuse me? Me? A master carpenter? No. Anyway, you guys obviously like it out there. A lot of people have written in and said how much they enjoyed it. It's basic, it's cheap, it's a bit of fun, it costs you nothing except labour. But the first thing you're going to do with pallets, strip them down. So I'm going to crack on, get the wood all off of this, and then we're going to start by making the base for the kennel. That's the first thing you want to make. Let's get cracking. Why did I do that? All you need to strip down pallets really, a good hammer. I'm using a club, what we used to call them, a coal hammer. A wrecking bar, for those of you who don't know what a wrecking bar is, it's used for, well, it's used by burglars I assume, and people doing wrecking jobs. Very, very strong. It's curved up at one end with a flat edge to it so you can get underneath something and lever it up using that curve. Same the other end, but it's got a notch in there, ideal for getting under the edge of the pallets and ripping back. And also that V you can pull nails out with. But I also use what's called a bolster. They call them a cold chisel as well. Different countries, different names. Just a bolster. Use it for breaking up and splitting bricks and concrete. Also, wear glasses for safety. Well, not just safety. I can't see where I am in the garage without them. Of course you have to wear glasses. You might want to put a pair of gloves on. You don't really need a breathing mask because you're not sawing anything yet. You're basically going to strip it down. Be careful, take your time, don't rush. Here we go. Okay, now I'm going to be using earphones. It gets quite loud, sometimes banging away in an echoey garage. I can use a pair of leather gloves. You don't have to use gloves, depends how cold. It's cold, so the metal on this wrecking bar is cold on my poor little hands. Now, when you go in the edge here, and you're going to lever it up, but don't lever up too early because you'll splinter the wood. This particular pallet's got 3 nails that have been put in there with a nail gun. So they've been driven in. So you want to work away at it and just lever slowly and let the curved action at the end of the wrecking bar almost do the work for you. So you're pushing in and you just rock it. And then you go to the middle spar and the end spar and so on. Don't lever the whole thing up, you'll split the whole span. Section. Well, you can feel it pop. You can even use the other end of the wrecking bar, much more leverage. And it's up. And there you are, that's the first one. Now use a claw hammer to take those nails out. Don't throw the nails away, that's ridiculous. Save them, you never know when you might need them again. Okay, this is just a small tip for taking nails out like this. Now you can see, just there, they're bent over. Now what I do, to straighten up, you can either knock them or you can just put this, the claw part of the claw hammer around the middle of the nail and just bend it back straight like that. Just get them all straight as you can, just using a twisting motion. And then use this block as a support so that you can overlap it, and you'll find you just tap the nail Because they're put in by a nail gun. Just tap it and it will clear the other side. You're using that hard point of the block. Makes life so much easier. Turn it over and you can see I can get the claw in there. Out she comes. Right, I've cut up a load of pallets to make the base. I'm going to start with the base and you want to keep it off the ground. So I'm using really nice chunky thick 4" by 1.5" bases of other pallets. I'm going to put them on their edge just like this, and that is going to create, I'm going to go across there with my flooring like that. And these are the ordinary boards, about 3.5 inches across. That's all you need for the flooring. So you're going to start with the base, but I just feel using this, it gets it off the ground, it keeps the dog, you know, nice and warm. A bit of air can circulate under there as well, so in the summer it's cooler, and in the winter it doesn't get the damp coming out the ground. I'm going to make it just fairly standard, 36 inches long, 30 inches wide. That's a nice easy one to remember. Obviously you adjust it to whatever size your dog is, but that I would guess small to medium sized dog. Let's cut them up. Right, I've got my piece of timber for the base all clamped off. In my workbench, I like to put my foot on there, it's nice and tight. Headset on for safety. Make sure that leads away from the blade and just nip the end off to 36 inches. The little tip here is you can always, to say, keep marking them all off, put the next one underneath, lay the other one over the top, and you can mark it off. Just allow for the space of the pencil, just ease it back just a touch. Bang. That one's ready for cutting. So if you've got a lot to do, that will be the way to do it. Cut your first one as a sort of template, mark the others up, allow for the width of the pencil, and you'll soon knock them all off. Okay, now you can either use for those bases the natural width that the pallet comes in, and don't bother with my standard 3 by 2 inches. Just use the width of the pallet and fill it up with whatever you want. But if you do want to adhere to some sort of uniformity of measuring, you might, like me, actually not have the brain of Einstein. So you've got to look at a 3.5 inch width of pallet wood and go, I've got 36 inches, how many times are my lengths of widths of pallet wood going to fit into there? So if I go 36 with the calculator, obviously, not with the brain, that's going to seize up. 36, and you divide that by the width of the pallet, 3.5 inches, 3.5. That says I need 10.28 pieces. I've already cut 10, 0.28, I'm going to come a little bit under that, 0.25, that's a quarter of the width of the pallet wood. So I go 3.5 divided by 4, 0.87, just over 3/4 of an inch. That should give me enough. And that's the way I've done it. And I'll finish this one off. Hopefully we can then do the base. Okay, I'm all cut. I've got my 3 bases there. I'm going to be using, in this case, some galvanised nails I've got left over from fencing. They are, I will tell you the exact measurements, not as important because I'm not using huge ones, they are 2-inch ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the first crossbar of the base in, and what I do is put it in one corner first, make sure it's very square on the end, and only do one nail. Don't drive them home, just get them lined up and just put the first one in about the top end. I've got the middle, I'm centered up there as well. Put that one in. Now we do the same at the bottom, but we don't drive them home because we want to make absolutely sure that the whole system is square. So if you just do one in each corner, a little nail, do not drive it home. To check it's square, we go across the corners, just like this. Corner to corner, that's 46.5, and that one is, just tapping a bit, that's 46.5, so we know that's square. I'm not going to drive this one home because that's the one I've got the narrow strip to finish off with, but I can definitely knock these in, because those three and these two at the back will hold it, and then when I put the second one in here, it's not going to move at all. That will be ready for filling in. Now you can use double nails or you can just use single. Personally, I think you just need single. That's enough just to hold it all in position. And then finish the rest of the base off. Right, I've got the base done now, filled in, and it looks like a pallet. All that time and I've got another pallet. All will become clear. But I've got that narrow strip at the end, that 0.28 of the width to finish it off flush. Now when you get a very narrow piece of wood like this and you're going to nail it, very often you'll find it splits. So the little tip here is just drill a hole with a fine hole just through there, so that when the nail goes through, it goes into the wood underneath, but it doesn't actually go right through it and split the end of the wood. Base is done there. Now all that remains is to really crack on, and I'm going to make two sides. The front obviously with the arched entrance, and we can make that to rest on here. You can make it a standard size now. I would have thought probably about 20 inches, and that allows for your apex to come over the top like that. So I would have thought off the top, make it whatever height you want. Architectural design gone mad. Tell you what, I think we'll probably just make it 3.5 times about 6 pallets high, 28 inches, something like that. So we're just, rather than adhere to a measurement, we use the thickness of the pallets. We'll see how we go, and you'll see 2 or 3 sides come together. When I get the 3 sides together, then I'm going to start on the front. Now here's another totally awesome tip. When you're cutting up lengths of wood that are very similar in size, it's pretty easy to get them mixed up, you know? So what you do is, when you place it down to mark it, you get your set square, you mark your line across, and then you put a cross or a tick, depending which piece you want. In other words, if you've got 30 inches, and the left-hand side is the good bit you want, put a tick on that side of the mark, and if the other side is what we call the waste or the scrap side, put an X. Then if you do drop them and you're cutting several different types, you're not going to get mixed up. You go, oh, that's the good one I want, the one with the X on, that goes over on the rubbish heap. Okay, now I've made the height of the sidewall 5 pallets high, and then I've cut 2 other strips that are going on the inside. Now when you put it from the inside, leave a little edge around here, because I'm going to lay some boards down the inside here, and these slots that will slot over the top and slot over the top here, and I can nail through. It gives me a sort of base to nail to. So just use the edge of another board, I haven't got one here to show you, just the thickness of the board around the edge, nail your supports on, which holds all these panels together, but I put them through nailing head first. The head's on the inside, away from any dog. If you've got heads sticking around the other side, you want to close them off. We do what we call just shock them over. So you're going to put a bend in line with the grain. Just bend them over. There's a little tag end and nail sticking out. You can use screws if you want, but if you just hit this, it just reverberates through the wood. It's better to get a big hammer, like the coal hammer, put it the other side, and it buries the nail. And you know when you got it right, because this hammer, the support at the back, will be bouncing away. I'll do this and I'll show you. Every one of those nails, because it's soft pallet wood, look, I can rub my hand over it, I don't get spiked. The nail head is buried because it was shocked against this side and the other side. That is one side of the sidewall, and you can see it just rests there nicely. 2 more, and an end and a front. Let's keep soldering on. Okay, I've got 5 slats up here, 5 slats on the back, 5 slats around here, which this locates perfectly and lines up just along the edge, so it's all flush down there, but I put 4 little blocks just under these corners as sort of locators. That's what they are really, but also the way I've done this is because they interlock, and it gives you something, whoops, fall over, it gives you something to nail into. It just makes it that little bit stronger. I'll show you closer, you know, what exactly I've done here. Now what I've done is I've left this gap here, which is exactly the thickness of the edge of this. That way and this way, and again at the bottom, this one actually comes out like that. So there's a gap under there, and what I'm going to do is put these blocks in like that. I'm going to nail the blocks down, but I'm going to leave that resting on the blocks. Now you can fix it, but this way you can remove it. So you've got the option either way. And if I move around here, you'll be able to see, hopefully, there is that gap. You should be able to just see it here. Again, let's take a block. There's the gap, you see. I've allowed a gap there, and underneath. And that block is going to be flush in there. I fix that, and then by leaving the gap on this edge here, that should locate, he says, hopefully, almost as perfectly as you can want. There, you can see it, just these two overlap. I've allowed for the overlap, makes a perfect angle there. Now I can nail in from this way and from that way. As you see, if I take it apart, as I push this in here, I can push nails through that way, which come into this base block and miss it and go down, come out from the other side, and nails interlocking that way. So I've got nails both ways. They don't come right into where the dog kennel is, they come into these sort of support brackets I've made there. I personally think it's very clever, and it will be nice when it's done. Let's move on and get it rigid. Okay, here you can see I've now got the front put on as well, but I've got it detachable. I haven't fixed that yet, because that's where I'm going to mark in here the archway to go in. So I'm going to cut that out now while I've got it easily accessible, and that can go straight on the workbench. Much easier to do it when it's flat. Okay, I've got my front panel, and I'm going to cut an archway in that for the access for the dog. The first thing I'm going to do is get that centre line marked up. Okay, you measure across the front on the outside, 28 inches, 14 inches. I do the same at the bottom. That just gives me my centre line there. So I'm marking this on the inside. Going to make the entrance about 12 inches, I would say about 12 inches. So that's 6 inches either side of that centre line. I'm going to mark it, but I'm also, remember, going to need a bit of a support there. So I've made 2 other supports to go either side, and that's going to overlap here and give us that little bit of support when we take the inside out to make the entrance. It's obviously got the potential to make it weaker. So that's my 2 lines there. Let's mark those up properly. One there, one here. That's it. And these 2 supports are going to go on the inside, overlapping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to give me that little bit of extra support I need, and obviously the dog brushing against it when he goes in and out. So let's fix those in place, and I can turn it over. Okay, I've fixed the 2 supports. There's my centre line, 6 inches either side. That's going to be the gap of the doorway, and I've got these 2 supports there, and I'm going to leave about 1 inch or so at the top as a supporting spar. But what I've done is turned it over from the facial side and drawn the centre line there, reproduced it, the 6-inch gap. And to make that little archway on the top, you can do it freehand, but just search around your garage and you'll come up with something like a paint pot, and you can move this around, get the centre line, make a centre line on the pot, and you can leave about 1 inch at the top, a little inch gap between the top edge there, which will give you sort of a support spar, and just juggle it around so it's touching either side. Obviously that's the width I'm going to work on, and then let's come down a little bit, give me a bit more strength there, and then I just freewheel this around the edge there, and this should give me a nice even cutting mark. That's why I use a nice thick pen on these dirty old pallets. Sometimes you can't always see what you've marked. Here we go, that's ready for the jigsaw. Okay, you see the support box the other side. I've marked it all out, and I just finished marking that down with a black felt pen. so I can see exactly where I'm cutting. And what I've done is take off the support gripping blocks on this workbench so I can get a nice flat surface. Always make sure underneath you're not going through the workbench. Yes, I have done that as well. That's all clear. Off we go. All those bits out. There, as you can see, is the entrance for Doggy. Now we're going to put this on the front base, and then pretty well that's the actual base and the box section of it done. Well, there we go. There's the doorway. That's the base done. All the sides done. All we need to do now is the roof. But I'm frozen, so it's best you have a look at this advert while I go and pour myself an alcoholic beverage to warm myself up, and then we'll start on the roof.
Consider yourself a fisherman. Just how far do you want to take it? Subscribe to this channel for more awesome videos.
Right, we're back again. Now, archways there. I can put an additional support in here just behind these door opening if I want, but I want to crack on with the roof. We're going to make an apex, and we've got to make the two end gables as well. This is how we're going to do it. Okay, now before you start the second phase, get yourself one of these, a broom. And as the saying goes in olden times, clean as you go. Because you can get rid of all the sawdust, which in my case is probably going to get in the camera lens. It gets rid of all the rubbish, but more important, it gives you a tidy floor to work from, and you don't, in fact, end up stepping on one of these. Now that's what it's about. You're going to start stripping some more pallets down for the roof. You're going to have nails to strip out. Take my tip, sweep up first, a nice clean area to work from. Get these nails out safely, do not just leave them in wood to tread on. Now when you're stripping pallets out, here's a nice totally awesome tip. You've got to get the nails out of the wood. Don't do it on top of your workbench. You'll just end up breaking up your workbench as you hammer the pointy ends through, which you have to get hold of enough head to be able to get the claw hammer on it. Put it on a nice flat hard surface and get yourself one of the blocks of wood that you've got off the pallet to support it like this, as close as you can to the edge of that block. This takes all the shock, and they'll come out much easier. Let me show you. Place it down on the floor like that. You're just missing the heads, and you can tap away like this, turn it over, leave it on the block, put a knee on it, and you can then lever it like that. Now, with a long nail, you want to increase this leverage, and you can get them out really easy by changing the angle of the curve of the claw hammer. Instead of putting it straight in on the wood like that, lift it up, jam a piece of wood under there. Watch this one come out. Straight out. Absolutely easy peasy. And put all these, not on the floor where you're eventually going to put the garage, a car in the garage. You do not want nails on the garage floor. Pop them all into the bucket. You know where they are. And of course you can bend them out, straighten them, use them again should you so wish. Another tip, if you get small pieces of wood like this, what you can do to get that nail out, obviously you can't get any leverage, you use the claw of the claw hammer, just pop it in the wood like that, bang it, and the nail comes straight out. It splits the wood in two. There's another nail out, it's a little bit more for my log burner. Okay, you're going to have to make a ridge. So there is the two angles of the roof, but it's going to need something to butt up against. I'm going to use one long piece of pallet wood, the full length of the kennels, at a 90-degree angle. So one of the pallets is going to rest on here, and the other one rests on the top. But when you cut them, I've measured 18 inches, one side and the other, allow a little bit extra to overlap on one of the two sides, doesn't matter which one, so that it absolutely overlaps just the width of a piece of pallet board. We'll start getting these slats together and start getting one side of the roof together. Now for the ridge here, the kennel's 36 inches long, but I'm actually going to make it 38 inches long. The reason being, I want to leave a little overhang of a couple of inches at the front on that apex, sticking out, just so the rain doesn't go straight down the arched entrance. So we'll get this guy cut, that's the ridge, and then I can start panelling all the other pieces of slats over against it to make one side of the roof. Okay, there's the first section of one side of the roof done, but obviously you have to get the measurements there and thereabouts. So being with the width of these, they don't come just over. I don't want to leave a huge amount over the edge for the overlap at the front, in other words to stop the rain coming down, so it's weak on the nails. So I've put a good wide board on the outside as the overhang, and then measured and cut a fillet of wood which drops in there, that way up, either way. Just drops into the gap, give it a bang because I've got it nice and tight. That's it. There we go. That's it. All I've got to do is nail that. It's all pinched nice and tight in there, like that. So that's one side nearly done. The nails are in there. I'm going to put a band across the inside of that, see, like a support here. And then that's one side done, and we'll make the other side and then see if we can get the two together. Okay, so here's the top edge. This is a support for the lower edge, but I want the lower edge to overhang the building just about an inch, just all on about an inch, so the felt, the water runs off the edge of the felt and doesn't run down the side of the building. So I've actually used the width of the straight edge. Let's call it just about an inch, which I've got in there. Just mark it down, and that gives you just a very rough guide for the overhang. Also will give you, and it's 36 inches, I want to come inside that overhang there. Don't want to interfere with the overhang, so I've got it coming well inside there. I'm going to nail that in, and that section of roof then is actually done. Okay, so now here you can see that I've started putting the other side on. This one, don't forget, is the 18 inches with the big support along here, and I'm going to overlap my other slats all the way along here for the other side of the roof. After I do the first one, I just check it with a set square, that you're absolutely square on the roof there. Look, it doesn't matter, it's a dog kennel going outside, but it's nice to conform to something. You don't have to be at that particular angle, but that's what I'm trying to get. You can always move it a little bit, stretch it. But when you first get the first one in, lean it up like this, just lean this side up, and then if you get yourself a nice piece of wood about the right size, you can rest it in there, and that will give you a bit of support while you get that first one in. Now I'm going to crack on with these, and I'm putting both of them not into the top here but into the bottom, which is, I feel, a little bit stronger. You can do one of each. Okay, so that's both supports put in there. As you can see now, I've got the join. These two ridges will rest on the ridges here. But the reason, a lot of people, I'll just show you, do this. If they're moving an angle about like this, they'll put a tacked in support bar here to stop it going out or in. Now, I haven't put the support bar in there because I know, having two asymmetric sizes, i.e. one size 20 inches, the other size 18 inches, something's going to be out, and I can at least move this and bend it in and out to fit exactly on there. So I don't actually put the support bar, but we won't be too far out, I don't think. You can always put it down on the floor and just rock it open like that. There'll be a bit of give in it, and then we'll offer it up and see how far we're going to be out. Hopefully not 2 feet. Hopefully not even 2 inches. Look at that, that's not far out. That is not far out at all. So I can start to fix this front on and go into the sides here on those edges and just bend that out. Do one side first and then stretch the other side out and then bend that and start tacking away. Well, it's looking quite good. I think I'll move in soon. Okay, so I tipped the kennel up on its end. I've just got to do this end gable at the back first. All I'm going to do is leave it on the outside because the felt I'm going to put on the roof is going to overlap here. I'm just going to get a board and mark it like this, either side. Do them one at a time and butt them up. Don't just cut what you think is the right size. Invariably, they probably won't be. So I'll mark the angles down there, like that, and then we'll cut the rest off with a jigsaw. Okay, I'll put a couple of spars in here, support spars, just underneath. Take the fascia of the last 3 slats here, and then that's the front done. Cut a little curve there, and that one is now finished. Let's get that in. We're ready for roofing. And they've got a couple of air vents here at the top, so if it does get hot, the heat can come out. Big vent there though. In England, it doesn't get that hot. We don't have to worry about air vents. Okay, we're ready to put the felt on. Now this is a mineral base, just a regular shed roof felt. Of course you can always change it. And what I do, some people tack on the edge. I actually like to roll it just underneath that angle there. Now you're going to need some of these. These are, well, we call them, that's what they call them because a lot of people watch from America. We call them clout nails, I call them. They're just called galvanised felt nails here, F-E-L-T. Obviously before you use anything too small, remember you need a wide head to cover the hole that you're making in the felt. That's why they have a wide head to, you know, stop the rain going back through the nail hole. I'll put one in, bring it down and show you what it looks like. Now the hammer I'm using is a proper tack hammer because I used to do upholstery as well in one of my furniture shops. And I'll just show you there, just so you know. That is a proper tack hammer. The reason being, if you're using small tacks and pinching them with your fingers, and you're going to start them, and they are very, very short, ouch, 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 ouch. So, with a tack hammer, don't need it with clout nails, look, you see they've got a great big flat area of coverage. If I had to pinch a little tack in there, I use the thin end or the wedge between my fingers, tap, tap, tap to get it started. Then I can take my fingers away and bang and it goes. So it might pay you to invest in a tack hammer. This one's about 100 years old. Probably belonged to my Neanderthal great-great-great-great-grandfather. Used it for killing dinosaurs. And along on the top as well. Now because you know you're using pallet wood, you can use what I call a shocker underneath. Look how much better that goes in just by using something to help with the shock. So I'm just going to, so you just use a thin end first. You don't actually need it with a clout now because it's such a big head on it. Keep the felt nice and tight and it's nice and flat. Let's solder on, get this finished. Well, with the roof on, there's really little else to do except stain it up, but I'm going to add one last little piece to put on the front just to finish it off for Mr. Woofer. Go with the last one on the top at the back. Get it lined up nice and flush at the top because that's going to be covered by the felt. Then we're going to flip it up the other way and do the same the other end. Well, that's it, people. There is a homemade out of pallet wood, free, cost nothing except a little bit of off-cut of felt left over, some nails, that's all there is to it. One thing left I've got to do, you can rub it down, you can paint it white, you can do what you want with it. I'm going to give it some wood stain and that's it, it's ready for a dog. Let's see what it looks like when it's finished. Well, there you go, people. That's what I call from pallets to pooch paradise. I think that's not bad, and that's just labour, nails, felt, scrap wood. I mean, I put dogs higher than some people, to be honest. Losing ones, like, especially when you've had them a long time, 15 years plus, like I have, 3 of them. Oh, it's like having your right arm cut off. But there's, although I'm finished here, there's one more job that I've got to do. I've just got to do it. That's right, ladies, he does in fact scrub up very well, but I've got another job, not making anything to do with pallets. A real job. Hollywood's calling. Who do they want me to be? Author PPK? Wrong. Bosch GSR 10, 8 volt. International espionage, I thrive on it. I can travel anywhere in the world with these. Oh! Made me a bit queasy, that was the wife.
Graeme, who the hell are you talking to?
Has she gone yet? Well, these 2 panels, a perfect piece of picket fencing for me to hide behind, plus the offcuts of which I've also had the rear blocks removed, and as you can see, nice and narrow. What a perfect border.